how did you guys come up to rubber? As a medium for art, how did that come about?
Totally by chance. We got this rubber and played around with it and said, no, we don't want to crochet it, but look what's happening here. And then after playing with it a lot and working with it, we started to move towards this.
Yeah. It was so different in the sense that you were able to work with Kopanung. I hope you guys will expand on that, but also with the students at the University of the Free State, teaching them how to be entrepreneurs and how to make products from this rubber.
At the CUT, Central University of Technology, we have an ECP program, and it's like a pre-degree. And those students are so ready to work and enthusiastic and just ready to work. And so we just took the bags to them and said, create, make something. And we had students weaving products and earrings and jewelry and all these nice products just happened. And then we had an opportunity to take those 50 students to the Kopanu Center, and they taught their skills and their products and also made more of a quantity of the products.
And I think the huge part of driving the skills development side of it was it's for free. So if a student could only apply just their skill and their time, nothing else. You would never have to fork out money on material costs or anything. 100% proceeds could come back to you.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, for everyone who doesn't know, so the Kopanung Center is a center for individuals that are differently abled. And so what this project did is that it was able to work with a number of individuals and also speak to them and teach them how to work with these products. But I also think it speaks to the importance of paying it forward in that sense. I think that also brings us to a very important point as to the purpose of this conversation, which was how female artists encounter and engage with the visual arts industry. What is the type of support that they receive, and how is that going?
Locally, we have 51% female representation in galleries, but internationally, we're looking at 5%.
So with regards to that, we're looking at internationally, especially, the stats that we're working on would be for London, for example. 78% of all galleries in London represent mostly males. So leaving the stats to about 22% of female representation in galleries.
For me, I see it as there's so many genders today. People choose how many percent are they, what gender they are. For me, I see myself as an artist. It's very difficult to say which exact gender you are, because there's so many grey zones of different genders coming forward. And for me, it's the freedom of expression and the freedom of living yourself out and being an artist and expressing yourself in the world.
The question is, so if you look, for example, at how the market's performing with regards to auctions, you're realizing that male artists are performing much better with regards to auctions. So let's look at Pioneer, for example, versus someone like a Maggie Loebshire. So does that continue, or is it something that has changed? Is it changing, but the auction houses are not reflecting the sale of artworks for females?
Well, it's not reflecting. So I trust that it will change. I think it's more about the quality of art that you make. So I believe that if you keep on producing and having the standard of art, if you take away the artist and just look at the artwork, that it will speak for itself.
And we're just talking now that, you have a full-time job as a lecturer at a university, and you do the art, and you are a mom to 2 children. How are you navigating between the 3?
Well, work more, sleep less. So when the kids go to bed at 8, that's when I go to the studio and work. And so it's a choice that I want to make art, and I want to teach, and so you will always find time to do what you love to do.
How are you thinking through moving past this idea that you have to live in a dark space for you to produce great work?
How meditation came into my life is that I actually did go through a traumatic experience, but I didn't want that traumatic experience to just be a large part of my story and the reason why I express myself and I want to heal and give out good energy in whatever I do. So I started kind of being very intentional about the kind of energy that I want to put out. So I started being very intentional about, okay, let me help people of color, especially artists and creatives, to feel good. And to also create from a place of love and not just fear and brokenness and trauma and struggle. And I mean, it's been going well for me so far. I think people are still a little bit like, oh, what is meditation? I can't sit still. Oh, quietness. Oh, my man. You know, so people are still very like, I don't know if I can do that. Or I don't know if that's me. And what I'm trying to teach people is that meditation is not about a personality. It's about mindfulness. And anybody can practice that.
Thabo, you brought up something very interesting. About how artists are generally using their work as commentary and creating from this space as being cathartic and kind of healing at the same time. And I think of this particular exhibition and how there's a kind of sense of pushing the envelope and challenging the whoever is coming to experience that art, right? That experience is causes some level of discomfort about what's happening in the world.
It's not necessarily always about making people uncomfortable. So what I say to people is, if you see a piece of work and you're uncomfortable, what is it that you're uncomfortable with? And you need to go and do the self-work. So it is something that, because you're reading it differently. I read shows differently. I mean, I walked in and I saw the works and I started reading it. And when you start looking at it, you see how some of the works are so small and so delicate, and you start thinking of Elrie. You don't look at the lines and how grand they are, and you think of Liberty's work. And then you think of the size and how they grandstanding, and you think of Pauline's work. There's this one particular work I've seen of Pauline, which is this massive bull, and the work's about 2 meters by 2 meters, but that's the scale she works on. And for me, it was like, I'm seeing all 3 artists in one, and that's how I was reading it. But as someone else, what is it that you're reading, or how are you reading it differently, and why is it that you're reading it in that sense? And yes, a lot of artists do use their work to work through some of the issues that they're coming through. But you also have to remember, art, the creating process is a process. It's a very difficult process, but it's also one that is sometimes guided, in the sense that if you're producing works for a gallery, you're always in conversation with the gallery. You're always in conversation with the idea of it, and that's where you have curators.
Art serves to remind us who we are, why we're here, what we're capable of.
On the one hand, you're doing it for yourself, but on the other hand, you also want to get your voice out there and make people aware of things that you really feel strong about.
So how do we encourage, younger people and the younger generation to get more into the arts?
I think it's also about educating the public, and I think that was what was very interesting on Sunday. Thabo, the people were here with their cell phones, and the people really touched the work and they really interacted with the work. And I think that is what makes this project so interesting, is the fact that it is a bit corporate, and we are very thankful for the opportunity that Absa gave us to actually present art that people don't immediately feel intimidated by. After reading this, and you realize how much waste there is, people really engaged and touched it and moved it around and took selfies. And I think that is important, because art should bring hope and should bring you out of your everyday life. And I think that is what made this exhibition very moving.
The biggest thing for me when I was younger was that I wasn't aware of corporate sponsorship, or I wasn't aware of the booming art scene that there is. The art world's alive and kicking, and good work speaks for itself.
A lot of people speak about galleries and museums and a lot of institutions being these ivory towers. And for so long, they have treated themselves as ivory towers. They have treated themselves as spaces that are divorced from the reality of everything that is happening around them. So you can't have art that comments on a time and on an issue, but yet you don't let people in. You don't let people, come and experience that. And I think for us, it is about changing that. It is about how do we get more people in? How do we say to people, you don't have to have the money to come and buy the art, but you're more than welcome to come and enjoy it. I think that's something we should change as a country, and that's something we should instill in a lot of young people, especially from a young age.
702
For the curious.